Are you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager at PHECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, you're going to want to listen to this podcast. You want to know why? Because we are uncomfortable with being with people who are dying. We are afraid to talk about death, dying, and grieving. And here on Chatting with Betsy, I'm popping the lid open. I'm getting it out of the closet because we need to have these conversations. Is it because I'm morbid? No. It's because we are all going to die. We're all going to know someone who's going to die. And we need to be prepared, as fully prepared as possible. And with me today, you're going to want to hear my guest because my guest is fantastic. With me today is Linda Bryce, who wrote the book, The Courage to Care, Being Fully Present with the Dying. Linda is an author, an educator, end-of-life doula, and transition coach, singer, and songwriter. For decades, she taught, wrote, and spoke on religious and spiritual matters. She regularly sits and sings at the bedside of the dying. Welcome, Linda, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you so much, Betsy, for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
You're welcome. And I have to say right off to the audience, do not run to your computer and purchase this book. I think this book, this is how I feel. This book should be read by everyone, and especially those who are in the clergy field, who are in the hospice field, who work with hospice. This book should be required reading. That's how strongly I feel about your book, Linda.
Wow.
So thank you for writing your book. You're welcome. Thank you for writing this book. It's for everyone. It doesn't matter, what your belief is, what your religious background is, what your ethnic background is. This is for everyone. And I can't thank you enough for writing this wonderful book. How did you come about writing this book?
Wow. I think for all of us, we have different threads throughout our life. And when we take a look back, we say, this contributed, that contributed. When I was 18 and a sophomore in college, I volunteered at the social services department of a county general hospital. While I was there, one day I was asked to go up on the floors and visit some people who were in the hospital. I was not told anything about them, just their name and a bed number. So I go up the stairs, find the person, and this was an older gentleman who was kind of listing off his pillow almost, and I still remember very clearly what he said to me. The first thing out of his mouth was, I'm dying. And I was like this, deer in the headlights, what do I say now? What's right? What's correct? What shouldn't I say or do? I And I probably eventually said something like, "I'm sorry," and just felt so helpless and unprepared, and left. I recall a very short exchange and then left, and I didn't visit anybody else, and I never went back and saw this poor man. And I suspect that throughout my life, it's been working on me because I've since then, over the decades, often interacted well, much better, with older people, and then being at the bedside more recently, well, now 6 years ago, but of my husband as he was dying, and then my aunt when she was dying, and finding that even before, for example, I knew of bedside singing, it was my natural impulse to start singing and singing songs from their traditions and singing soothing songs and making others feel comfortable and interacting with caregivers. Then I became
beautiful.
Then I started working with hospice and on, and was really concerned, and that's perhaps understated, but concerned about how few visitors, especially those who are in facilities, how few visitors people get, how little attention they get other than maybe the basic medical care that they need and the daily care, and wanted to very much encourage all of us to step into this. These days we don't grow up with dying around us. Many of us, most of us, don't see our elders still in our homes as they age, as they become sick, as we take care of them, and as we are with them at their side while they are dying. We don't see that, and so we are unprepared and we are uncomfortable. This is the talk. You and I, when we were growing up, right, the talk that no one wanted to have was euphemistically called the birds and the bees, right? Well,
right.
This is still the talk that we don't want to have. Like you said in your opening, having these conversations before we're in an emergency setting, before we're at an unexpected health crisis. And then when we are, to know what to do and how to be there because we know what matters most to this particular person. This book will introduce us, will remind us, and will give us very specific practical advice.
Yes, and I want to make it clear to the audience, Linda, that this book, and I want the audience to listen to me very carefully, this book is not morbid at all. Don't think it's morbid. It's not. It's inspiring. It's inspirational, and you won't be able to stop reading it because it's fantastic. Go ahead.
That's what I am hearing constantly, is how easy it is to read, with all of the stories that I include, with the fun and laughter that I include, with the unexpected occurrences. I often hear it's like talking to someone at the kitchen table. It's very accessible.
Yes, it is. And I love in your book how you said, to look at the person who is dying, look at their eyes, and, talk about what they liked, talked about what, their favorite activity was, to talk about, what they get like off the illness. They know they have it. Talk about something pleasant. read to them and, play their music. And I like to, well, I know from my own experience, my mother had a friend, and I was very close to her, and I was 23 at the time. I was young. I didn't know any better. And Tessie was dying, and I didn't want to see her. I was uncomfortable to see this woman, be in the state that she was in. And I think a lot of people don't visit people who are dying because they are uncomfortable. And this book will help them to be comfortable. And we need to start being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
That's well said, Betsy.
Yeah, thank you.
I hear, I don't want to see so-and-so. I want to remember them as they were. Well,
yes.
And what about the person in the bed who's dying? When you offer that, you're thinking of yourself. You're thinking of yourself. How about we think of the person who is dying, how much they're losing, how alone they are feeling, because there are so many like that person saying, I don't want to go see them. But if they've been in your life, and this does go a bit to what kind of relationship did you have with this person up to this point? So what if they look different from the way they looked? Don't we visit people in hospitals?
That's right.
That, of course, the pandemic has massaged that a little bit. We have to deal with that. But, someone is sick, you go and you give them a boost to their morale. Hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I support you. What can I do to help you get better? And even though the getting better is different, but it's still getting better in terms of feeling that people still care about me, feeling that I am still important, that my friendship or my relationship was valued, feeling that, we had this connection and this person is willing to stand by me even now, or perhaps especially now.
Yes, I regretted not visiting my mother's friend. And so now that I'm older and wiser, and hopefully with age comes wisdom, and being that I watched my husband die, I am much more compassionate and have much more empathy because I've been there. And I think when you lose someone, you do become more compassionate towards someone else who is losing someone. And even if you don't stay long, that's okay. You don't have to be there in the room the whole day. How about being there for the person who's watching their loved one die? How about just being there, just holding their hand and saying, I'm here for you? A lot of times, Linda, I think we want to make people better, and we can't. But we can say encouraging things or just be there to listen. And that's so important, to say, I'm here for you. I love you. What can I do to support you? And,
right.
It took me into my 60s, really, to understand that because of what I went through. And I think, if people read your book, they will know what to say. They will know what to do, and they will be as comfortable as they could be. I really wish that this book was available a couple of years ago, and I would have been more prepared. But I just think that the exercises in your book, as what to do and what to say, are just phenomenal. I really think that, I played music for Matt. Matt loved music, and just to be there and comfort the person who is dying. And, a lot of times, Linda, I think people think, and I've gotten this impression, especially lately, I had to be strong. I had to be in control of my emotions around the person who's dying, around the person who's grieving, or I can't show my grief. And that's not true. You can show your emotions, and you do not have to be strong. Nobody could be strong all the time. How do you feel about that, Linda?
I think it's fine to show emotion and to put that into context. I really love you, and I'm going to miss X, Y, and Z, or I remember when, or thank you for, and I'm sorry we didn't get to do Y. Yeah.
It's a very emotional topic, to discuss. And I think people need to tell the person who's dying, I love you, I miss you. If they wronged you in any way and you're carrying that resentment, you tell them that you forgive them and that you're going to go on and that you'll be okay. And I really believe, Linda, I had this epiphany lately. Hearing is the last sense to go. And I think the reason why that is, I truly believe this, I think God made us that way so we can hear our loved ones speak to us. Even though we can't respond and we can't talk, and the person can't talk, they can hear you. That's why you have to be careful what you say. And it had dawned on me, that's why hearing's the last sense to go, so people can tell the dying person their last minute, I love you, or whatever else you need to say to your loved one.
Mm-hmm. And we can do that even when we're not physically present in the room. As long as someone is, for example, holding a phone up to the person's ear, or on a Zoom call, or an iPad or something. I mean, we can still offer our heartfelt last words to this person, sending them on their journey and thanking them for the time we did have with them.
Yes, that is so beautiful. I had to say goodbye to my brother, video call, because of COVID. Thankfully, my mom and my other brother were there, but when I said Bradley's name, he opened his eyes. He heard me. I told him I love him. I'm sorry what he, went through, and that we're going to miss him. And I just think that society needs to change how we view dying and grieving, and we should be prepared as much as we can. It's very hard sometimes to be 100% prepared, because I don't think we're ever prepared to lose our loved ones, but at least be comfortable having these conversations and to be present, like your book says, to being fully present with the dying, and to be comfortable around the person who is dying and their family. It's so important. When we need people the most, it seems that's when they run away, because they're afraid to face maybe their own mortality. I don't know. I think I was uncomfortable in my youth because I really didn't want to see the person in the state that they were in, which was selfish on my part. But, when you're 23, you don't know any better. That's why I'm having these conversations. So if you're 23 and you're listening, you learn from my mistake. But, I think people are uncomfortable, and they're uncomfortable to talk about it. And that's why we need these conversations. How do you go about singing? Do you find out the person's favorite music when you went to the bedside, Linda?
Well, I lead a I lead a threshold choir. And so what that means is, and there is one in New Jersey, I think they call themselves Garden State Threshold Singers or something. We have our own body of music that you won't hear elsewhere. It's written, most of the music, and there are more than 500 songs in the repertoire at this point. Most of the songs are sung by, were written by singers who sing at the bedside. And so they're non-denominational, they're consoling, they're soothing, and they you can see the changes, physical changes in the person in front of you while you're singing. Restless people become calmer. We were singing to this one woman who had just been placed on hospice and was distraught and just crying constantly. And when we walked in the room, the hospice nurse said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." And we began singing one of the songs. It's easy, rest easy, let every trouble drift away. And she began calming down, and she would stop crying for a little bit and then start again and then stop. And we continued to sing, and we left after she had completely calmed down, stopped crying, and was napping. But yes, we can also sing songs from a particular faith tradition if we know it. But as we've been talking here, our conversation has focused on the very end. Maybe the last week, the last month, the last week, the last few days. But there are many people who are quote-unquote dying, but are still very, very much alive, ambulatory, interested in life and what's going on, are able to have great conversations. I had this one woman who would always say, "So tell me, Linda, what mischief have you been up to?" Life is dying is living. It's all from the first breath to the last. All of it is life. And so talk about what's going on outside. Talk about what you see in the room. Flowers, oh, beautiful. Did you garden? Do you like these flowers? What do we talk about when we just talk to our family members, or we talk to our neighbors, or we talk to a friend? It's everyday conversation. It's not something real heavy and serious,
Right. That's true. And when people do get a diagnosis, a terminal diagnosis,
yes. Mm-hmm.
I think focus on living as best as you can and do what you can do while you still can do it. Live. That song by Tim McGraw, live like as you were dying, or something to that effect. Live like you were dying. Just everyone should be living, because we all are dying, and we're going to die at some point. So why don't we just live the best as we can?
Right, and I suggest that will be different from each of us. What does living our best day look like? It'll depend on who I am, what values I have, what I consider to be most important to me, what beliefs I have, what I still wish to do. whatever choices we want to make come into much clearer focus when we see our mortality ahead of us. So yes, we can spend our months, for some of us our years, even when we have a particular diagnosis. Spend it in ways that we want to. We can make our own choices about how to best live our life for us, with whom, doing what makes us who we are, what we value, what matters most to us.
Yes, I agree. When people get a diagnosis, like dementia, Alzheimer's, and that diagnosis means you're going to die, but don't sit home and just wait to die. Go out and live. Do what you always wanted to do. Get a bucket list and enjoy life. And I feel, Linda, since Matt died at 66, my brother died at 67, I'll be 64 in December, I enjoy each day now to the fullest. I have a whole new appreciation of life. I really do.
It's a blessing that we have a new appreciation, and it's a regret that we don't appreciate every moment, regardless.
Right.
And live life to the fullest with our purpose and with our intention, while we're healthy.
Yes.
We waste so many moments, don't appreciate, little things, little moments that in hindsight are so wondrous when we look back and review. Life is a gift. Every moment is a gift. We don't know what happens in the next moment. That's not to say to be morbid about it. It is to say to live the best life we came here to live.
That's right. Linda, I would love for you. Excuse me. Linda was on before, folks, back in May. Check out that show. I would love for Linda, for you to go around to hospices or via Zoom and teach them what is in your book, because I think that there's hospices, people who work in hospices that really need to be taught and educated about being fully present with the dying. And I just think that, I have another career for you. For you to do. But I think you would just be wonderful at it. Did you ever think of doing that? Excuse me.
Yes, I am available to give presentations to whomever. I mean, not just to medical folks, but to volunteers and to just women's groups and men's groups and associations. Those of us who haven't received any kind of medical training or introduction to this material and this piece of life can certainly benefit from it and glean some new ways of being around others who who are in some kind of a medical crisis. It doesn't need to be only hospice. I'm sure hospice associations, organizations have trainings as well. I mean, I'm with one, and even for volunteers, there are in-service workshops. And yet, yes, there's always something more and a different perspective and more information or new information that can be put out there. I look forward to interacting with many more folks in the coming months and years.
Do you do any one-to-one counseling?
Yes, that's also a possibility. If someone wants information, or if someone is in a situation where they now are finding themselves in what's been called the unexpected profession, when you unexpectedly now are a caregiver or have someone in your family who has been given a challenging diagnosis, and they want guidance, and they want resources, and they want support. Yes, I'm also available on a one-to-one basis for that. And you can find information about how to get a hold of me and have a complimentary consult in my website, which is www.thecouragetocare.com.
Thank you, Linda. I so appreciate you coming on. Is there any last gems? I know you're full of gems to give out to people that you would like the audience to know.
Well, yes, I actually have a special. So for you're a delightful host, Betsy, and I love
Thank you.
The work you are doing as well. So for your listeners, if your listeners go to my website, www.thecouragetocare.com, and fill in the contact form, and on the subject line put the word Betsy, I will send them a free report about how to begin conversations around this topic.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah, to get them started. And the conversations, folks, begin with us ourselves. Because when we begin to consider these questions for ourselves, then it's easier for us to have these conversations with others, to have them with our parents, to have them with our siblings, to have them with our spouses or partners while we're still healthy, right? Come on, I want to know what matters to you so that I do the right thing if and when there's something unexpected happens.
Amen amen, Linda. That's exactly how I feel. Have the conversations while you're still of sound mind and can have these conversations. A matter of fact, I'm going to be having guests coming on, chatting with Betsy, talking about these very subjects. You know, like I said, here in Chatting with Betsy, I'm popping the lid open. We need to have these conversations, and I want to help you, the audience, to have them. And I'm having guests coming on that are wonderful people, wonderful resources. And that's why you need to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy on your favorite podcast, so you don't miss my guests, who are wonderful.
Yes,
thank
we
you,
all
Linda.
are wonderful.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I have to say, you know, if I have to toot my own horn, I will, that I have great guests on my show that are a wealth of information, and thank you for your offer. Folks, you need to really subscribe to my show, read the blog, because the information for Linda Bryce will be in the blog. And Jeannie White, the station manager, writes the blog and produces the show. Thank you, Jeannie. And so you will have that information. Where can people purchase your book, Linda?
They can purchase it in any bookstore that they want to patronize, and they can buy it online through Amazon.
Great. And can they buy it through your website if they wanted to?
Actually, there is. There is a link
Okay.
in the website as well. Yes, it'll take you right there, and it's in paperback or ebook, Kindle version. Yep.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Linda, for coming on Chatting with Betsy. And, folks, if you missed any of this show, you can hear it again, your favorite podcast. Go back to May 26th, where I did my first interview with Linda Bryce. Such valuable information. And if I was listening to the show, I would contact Linda Bryce if I needed counseling. There's nothing wrong with getting help and getting counseling. This is my way to pay it forward, is providing resources to help the audience, which I wish I knew about with my husband. I wish I knew these resources. I wish somebody threw me a lifeline. And this is what Chatting with Betsy is about. I get emotional. But I want to thank everyone for listening. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio Network, for providing this station and this platform so people can talk about what people think are taboo, and they're really not, but to give people a chance to be heard. And this is what my show is also about, giving people a chance to be heard, to talk about what they do and their experiences. Because, folks, when we share our stories, we're helping each other. We are helping somebody. And I would really appreciate if you would share this podcast to help someone else, because we all are going to be in the situation of watching a loved one die. There's no way of getting around it. We will be in that situation. Why not be prepared? And I really want to say again, the courage to care, being fully present with the dying. Run and get it. Don't walk. Run and get it. Go on your computer, your tablet, and order it from Amazon. You will be very glad that you did. And I always had to say a disclaimer. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host of the station. And folks, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind. And this is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy. Be prepared, folks. Have these conversations. I can't say it enough. Embrace your loved one. Live life. Live it to the fullest. And don't wait till you're dying to appreciate life. Appreciate it now. Appreciate your loved ones now. Tell them that you love them. Don't wait. And that's what I have to say today, folks. So thank you very much. And just to name a few podcast stations I'm on, Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes. We are on I'm all over the place. So thank you very much. And blessings to you all. Bye now.
Are you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager, at PHECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon, ALEXA, AMFM247.com, every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.